This is a test to see how it works, because I'm looking to see how the camera's gonna pick up on the PowerPoint. If it works out okay, I'll let you know. But you have to understand that sitting at home and watching the video don't count. I mean, if you want to do it for review, that's wonderful, but it doesn't count towards the hour. You have to be in the classroom. So just in case you had that thought in your mind, can't do it. Let's start with two terms. You will find in this business that it has its own language and its own vocabulary. Which one of the two of those are you here for?
First one.
Which one?
The first one.
Broker and real estate, why?
Because we're dealing for signature.
Okay. And besides the fact, I don't need a license to buy and sell real estate. You've already done that throughout your life. How many of you own property here in Florida? Oh, good, this will be an easy class. Because I'm sure that you're totally familiar with this. You know, you wouldn't invest of $200, $300 million not having a clue what you're doing. And of course, you trusted your real estate agent to look out for your best interest. You understand now why we have education and licensing and all that other stuff. As the job you're about to take on is not an easy one. It is lucrative if you work at it. I know. One of my jobs here is contract compliance. I review every file to make sure it is the way it's supposed to be. If not, you don't get paid. I have an aide that's getting 2 checks this Friday for close to $33,000 on 2 transactions. So the money's out there. But she is, what's the word, aggressive. She is a go-getter. She doesn't wait for somebody to call her. She works a network. She's got a network of about 1,000, 2,000 people because of her history. First assignment, I want you to write this down. Make a list of everybody that you know on the face of the earth. Don't tell me, well, I don't know anybody in Florida. Yeah, you do. You know 30 people. They're all right here in this room. And you're going to be working together. And you want to know what area they specialize in because you can't be an expert in everything.
Sorry, I just want to make sure it's locked.
Fine. This is a team effort, people. You can't do this by yourself. And that includes the staff that you have here. I've been in the business obviously for a long time. I've never worked for a company like this one. Never. You made a very wise choice. And I got nothing to gain or lose with it by coming here. That is if you make sure you take advantage of all the things that are here. Because the opportunity to make money out there is out there. I don't care what they tell you. Every day, somebody buys and sells property. How many of you bought or sold a property in the last year? Okay, last 6 weeks? Last 5 years? Last week?
Last week.
This week.
How about this week?
This week.
How many people you have in your sphere?
In my way.
In your sphere of influence, the people you know? Don't limit geographically.
60, 70.
Okay.
2,000.
2,000? I like the 2,000.
I'm an old soul, I'm a networking woman, sorry.
And I said, a list of everybody you know on the face of the earth. Why? Because you live in South Florida, and the whole damn world wants to move here. Let me ask you a question. How many of you were born in Florida? That's a crowd. How many of you were born outside of the United States? Okay, I rest my case. So don't give me no shit about, I don't know nobody here. I only know people in Canada. I only know people in France. Yeah, we had an agent that doubled up on a $6 million sale. It's bought by somebody from France. How'd she find them? Her network. Because if you don't prospect, you die. We can't prospect for you. We can show you how to prospect. We can train you, we can work with you, but we can't prospect. We're not going out there and buying buyers and sellers for you. And if that's what you think, you need to get your ass up now and get out. Because you're heading down the wrong path. And you know what? That's the easiest job in the world. I go to Starbucks. I don't go through the drive-thru. I never go through a drive-thru. Why?
They're probably know your name and they know what you're saying.
And of course, I tell them a different story than you will, because of what I do. But everybody likes talking about real estate. Do you know anybody that doesn't like talking about real estate? Do you know anybody that doesn't have an opinion about real estate? Well, you know what? I have to be able to back that up with fact. You make a statement to me about something, you better be able to show it to me in black and white. Because if you can't show it to me in black and white, guess what? Don't believe you. Don't trust you.
You carry your cards with you?
Yes.
Awesome.
Matter of fact, I have them right there. I have them, a whole bunch of them in my briefcase. I have them in the car. My wife has some.
But when you-
Actually, the person that hands out more cards for me than anybody is my father-in-law, who is 83. You want to know why? Because he likes talking to people. He is absolutely, I'll show you, a good prospector. It's a shame that he never got in the real estate business, because he would have been fantastic at it. A few weeks ago, him and I went over for breakfast at Dunkin' Donuts. And there's always 6,000 people there that he knows. But he introduces me to this one guy, and he gives me his life history. And I said, how long you've known this guy? I just met him the other day, he said. You know what I figured out? He's got very big ears, and he uses them. Because we have a tendency sometimes, if we want to learn about somebody, we're too busy what? Talking. If we were, now how in the world can we get you to talk? or you to talk? How do I get somebody else that I'm there to talk?
That's the question.
Ask a question. Or, when they look down, yeah, I'm in real estate. So right now, how many people in your sphere know that you're taking this class? The answer is 100%. Like you're stupid. You know why? Because what's going to happen is, a week before you get the license, your best friend's going to buy a house. Because you didn't bother telling him you were getting the license. He would have waited. Well, you know, Dale, I don't want to tell him yet. What if I fail? What do you mean, if you fail? If you're going to fail, get out. You're not screwing up my passing habits. Go home now. See, that's the attitude you have to have. I'm going to pass that thing. I got too many things I want to do, not to. So whatever he tells me to do, even if I don't have the time and I don't want to, I'm still going to do it. Or else. All right, before I forget, this is the actual schedule for the days that we'll be meeting.
Mr. Dale, may I ask questions?
Yes.
During class, would you like us to refrain from asking questions?
No.
Okay.
If I tell you, you know, we'll talk about it on the break, or we'll talk about it later, no, I don't have a problem with you asking questions. Absolutely not.
Questions.
Thank you. Here, give me. Thanks.
Anybody else that doesn't have a schedule? I'm good? Okay. Here's a question for you. My mother owns a condo on the beach. I don't have a real estate license, but I dabble a little bit in real estate. My mom wants to sell her condo, and she asked me if I'll help her. And I said, sure. 2 weeks later, I found her a buyer. Now, I don't have a real estate license. But obviously, I'm pretty good at it. Has the law been violated?
No. Well, it depends how you do on that.
Not violated. Not violated.
Compensation. Did you get compensated? Yeah. Did you get paid for it?
Did,
Now, I'm going to show you why people fail exams. There are two answers to my question. Yes or no. I don't need a damn explanation. Thank you very much. And if you start doing that on the test, you'll be taking this test for a very long time. So that's kind of my fault. I should have told you your choices. Thank God it's not a fill in the blank or essay. Because you had me confused. So I'll set the scenario. Now see, here's scenario. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. Not a black and white question, even though the answer is yes or no. But the answers can also be pumped up a little bit. My mother wants me to help her sell a condo. I don't have a license. I do. We're able to sell it and close. In helping my mom out, have I violated Chapter 475?
No.
you're not a real estate.
No.
How many of you say no, you have not violated the law? How many of you say you have violated the law? Okay. For those of you that said that I did not violate the law, what's your basis? I want justification for your answer.
I would assume you're not a real estate agent.
I'm
I
not,
told you, you got to assume it. I told you I wasn't a real estate agent.
No,
But
You
I-
did not get any
but I have to earn my
compensation for
money.
the property.
he didn't say that though.
People
No,
sell
but you
houses
said you
all,
got it.
all the time.
You're not a realtor.
so what? You're allowed to help your mother to sell real estate.
You need to be licensed.
No, you don't have to be licensed. I sold my property several times by myself. By owner, sell by owner.
But when you help somebody.
I'm not talking about this one, I'm talking about this one.
Right.
This guy's not buying and selling. This story is not about buying and selling. It's about me helping my mother,
To
who is
sell.
the actual owner of the property, to sell the property. That's different than you buying and selling your own property. That's not the same thing.
So you said that I'm not allowed to help my mother to sell a property?
You need to be a realtor.
If you don't.
Now, let me ask a question. If you're brokering real estate, do you need a license?
Yes.
Okay, so in that question, you have to decide, is this person buying and selling real estate, which means they're doing it for their own, or brokering? Now, the first thought is, but wait a minute, he is doing it for somebody else. So now the question is he actually brokering real estate?
Yeah, illegally.
It's not even, at this moment, it's not even a question of legal or illegal.
No, because it wasn't for compensation.
Exactly.
All right, given what we just said, how many of you say that he violated the law?
From the first, from your original.
From what I just said,
Yes.
how many of you say he violated the law? Okay. Now, let me ask a question. Did you choose to leave this part off? Did you choose to leave off the part that says broken real estate is to deal for others for compensation? Not just to deal for others, but for compensation. Now, was I compensated?
You
I
decided
didn't mention it.
you're not licensed.
See, that's another problem. I don't want your opinion. Answer the damn question.
No, were you compensated?
Was I compensated?
No.
How do you know that? Because it didn't say I was.
Right.
How important would it be to know in that question that I actually received some sort of compensation?
Very important.
Critical, because it does what? It changes the answer 180 degrees. So here is a valuable lesson you've already learned about taking the test. If you have to add something to the question to make your answer right, your answer is wrong.
Right.
So if you assumed that he received compensation when you weren't told that in the question, you changed the question. You got your question right. Unfortunately, you got the one asked wrong. See, that's the problem. And how quickly could I change that scenario?
Well,
Watch. I help mom sell her place. She takes me out to dinner for selling her condo.
So you didn't violate?
Is that a violation?
no.
Did I receive compensation?
No.
Yes.
Well, a dinner.
Is dinner compensation?
No.
Yeah, because compensation, now, here's what I mean about being able to speak the language. What does compensation mean?
It's reward.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna table that because in chapter 2, you've got a big long list of what compensation is. Anything of value if you want a quick answer. Which means it doesn't have to be money. Flowers. They have value. And you're on a 50-50 split with Ben, is that what the deal is when you first start? That means you get a half dozen. No, actually, you get nothing. The flowers belong to who? Ben. Because you realize as a sales associate, nothing you do belongs to you. The listings you take belong to the company. The commissions you earn are paid to the company. And then the company pays you. So if you wanna think about the totem pole, who's on the top of the totem pole? No, the public, who said that? Public is at the top. Who's next? Broker. Who's next?
Realtor,
No, the associates,
which is the realtor.
which would be you.
Yeah.
But all you are now is applicants, so you're at the bottom of the totem pole. You're not Joe or Josephine Public anymore because you've now applied to get a license. But you don't have the license. Therefore, you can't do anything as far as what? Brokering. I can buy and sell that all day long. See, our discussions are not gonna be about this. Why? Because you didn't come here to do this. You came here to learn how to do that.
But it's not illegal to speak about obtaining your realtor's license,
No,
right?
No.
Because there's no compensation.
No.
Okay.
no.
And that's.
You'd be crazy not to.
Thank you.
I want everybody on the face of the earth to know I'm going to get a license. But I know a lot of you won't do that because you don't want to have to face the guilting if you fail. If that's the case, you're better off not to be here anyhow. Because you think this is hard. Wait till you actually have to do something.
Get up there.
Right now, all you have to do is what you're told. You don't have to be able to think. Because you've seen so far, your thinking has not been very effective. Because you don't know what to think yet. You learn something new. And you have to understand that everything I do in this course is for a reason. It may not make any sense to you, and a lot of times the reason is because it's something about the test. And if it's something about the test, I can't do what? I can't tell you. I can't tell you the answer is C if they say this, and here's why it's C. Besides the fact, you couldn't memorize enough questions and answers to pass that test. They have about a bank of about 3,000 to 4,000 questions. And a lot of the questions have 3 or 4 different sets of answers.
It's time.
Because depending on the choices given, you may be given the question where the best choice is the worst choice, but it's the only right one there. See, a lot of times they won't ask you, the best answer is not the best answer to the concept, it may be the best answer to the question that's given. And those you have a tendency to, instead of just taking it at face value, you have a tendency to overthink it, like I did with the mom exam. All right, let's go to page 2. Oh, I forgot something. In this class, do not count pages. Because if you count pages and you count nights, we'll never get through. So you don't have to check. I already tell you. Another thing, in the back of your textbook, you have the answer key for the questions at the end of each chapter. Make sure that as we finish the chapters, you take those quizzes. Do not mark in the book. Do it on a separate sheet of paper. Why? Because if you mark it in the book, you've just eliminated the effectiveness of the question. Because then what are you going to start doing? Well, memorizing questions and answers. And that's not the way to do it.
But we don't highlight.
Now, as far as highlighting, I'll tell you to highlight sometimes, I'll tell you to put a bracket around something sometimes. And then the most important one is when I tell you to put a star beside something. Because I don't teach to the class test, I teach to the state exam. To make it a little easier for you on the class test. Every time I touch on a topic there's going to be a question on the class exam, I will tell you, put a star beside that. It could be a word, it could be a sentence, it could be a paragraph, it could be a whole page, depending on what the topic is. Now, those stars are only valuable until you pass the class exam. At that point, everything in the book is important. And what I spend time on, a lot of times, is based upon how you react to the subject. If I see that I go through it once and everybody gets it, I'm moving on to the next thing. If I see by the look on your face that that one just kind of did this, I'm gonna back up and hit it at a different angle. Or if somebody asks a question. If it's applicable to what we're talking about, I will answer it. So you know if I answer it, it's not a waste of your time or anybody else's. Besides the fact, if you want to ask a question, nobody in here paid for your tuition, do they? Oh, never mind. Nobody paid. Well, been there. Yeah, I work for free. All right, page 2 of your textbook. Let's start with line 10, what says real estate professionals. Let's put a bracket from lines 10 through 34. Who doesn't have them highlighted? What else means what? You good? Anybody else? If you lose those, it's $2,000 cash. Now, you'll notice there are 3 areas that we as real estate associates or brokers should have knowledge in. The first one is knowledge of property transfer. I need to understand the process that occurs from the time the property is listed until we go to the closing table. It says knowledge of market conditions. Watch, your neighbor says, what's the average price in here now? How many homes in the community that we live in? My neighbor. It's 1,000 units, say, in it. It's a single-family subdivision. And he asked me how many units, or how many properties are for sale, or how many properties have sold recently. What's the average price properties are selling for? Now, in the community you live in, you need to be able to answer that. Now, it's a little harder to do that right now, when you can join the MLS and have access to all those listings. But how embarrassing would it be, once you've got your license and you're able to have the technology to do this, how embarrassing it would be if your neighbor asked you questions like that and you couldn't answer one? What do you think the chances are they're going to tell their best friend who's thinking about selling a house, you know what, you've got a list with him?
No.
They lost your name. Now, you can start doing that right now. Every time you pass an open house, on a weekend, for example, go in. Go to every new development, get the brochures, talk to the associates, tell them you're getting your license.
Put your information.
Because what separates experienced agents, for the most part, versus new agents is knowledge of the marketplace. Who you wanna work with? Somebody that can't answer one question like that, or somebody that does what? Well, and the difference is, they took the time, probably a half an hour, maybe an hour, to gather that. And then you can, in the MLS, you can set it up, so periodically, it'll make you aware of what's new. So you've got the technology out there to be able to do things like that. What's that do for your prospecting?
Confidence.
They're more likely to listen to you. They're less likely to throw your card away when you give them one. Oh, by the way, you never give somebody one card. Here's one for you, and one for the person that's actually gonna buy something as your friend. He ain't gonna buy shit. But he's got a friend who's looking to buy a single-family home out west. How do I know that? I did because we had a conversation. But see, I need a starter for that conversation. There's my starter, or my name badge. That's my starter. Because you know, how many of you stood in the line and somebody had a badge on that you didn't look at? I don't think in your entire life. You didn't look. You may not have stared at it, you may have not always started a conversation, but you did look to see what it says.
The cost probably was the year they started.
Yeah.
Which is amazingly far along ago.
And then you see they're from Connecticut. What'd you say, Tom? Hey, do you have any friends that might be moving down here? I'd love to work with them. Seem like a nice person. See, the problem is prospecting's so easy, it's hard. But you know what? I forgot something. I know why you have trouble with prospecting. Because you have to talk to strangers. And what did your mom tell you about talking to strangers? So I am unlocking your ability to speak to strangers. Because if all you know is 50 people, there's 50 billion people on the earth. You've got a lot of ways to go.
Gotta get out.
You laugh, but that's where your business is. It starts tonight. I want you to go home and call somebody from somewhere other than here and tell them that you're getting a license. If they know of anybody thinking about moving down to Florida, or if they know somebody in Florida. You know how many times a deal's been done where somebody up north knows somebody here who's 2 streets over? I had an agent one time, he and his wife were trying to farm the community they were living in. And they got a call from a friend of theirs in Maryland who was in the construction business, but was friends with somebody who lived in the community. And they bought the place recently and they hated it and they wanted to sell. You know where they were? 1 street over. 1 street over was business. And guess what? If it hadn't been for their friends in Maryland, they probably would have never found out. Well, they would at some point, but it sold. Because that community didn't allow signs, so they wouldn't see the signs. So, obviously, understanding market conditions. I don't care what kind of sales you're in. If you don't understand what's going on in the marketplace for that product, you're not going to make it. So, anybody that's got that kind of background, you've got a leg up on most people. If you use it. And like I said, it starts now. And then the last thing it says is knowledge of how to market real estate or businesses. Well, that makes sense. What's the purpose of marketing?
Exposure.
Exposure. What am I trying to do? I'm trying to get who interested? And sellers. Do you know that a lot of agents get more listings off of their advertising for properties they have listed? You would think that advertising a property is simply there for its only function would be to draw a buyer. here's the deal. That buyer has a problem. They need to sell their existing home to buy the one you have listed. Oh, shit. I got a terrible problem here. I got 2 transactions. Now, I'm working with a company that's almost 600 agents. So what am I gonna do, real quick? I'm gonna send an email to all the agents saying, I've got somebody that's got a property for sale. And one of you are gonna bring me a buyer. If I'm not doing things like that, I'm on drugs, I'm not too bright. Because I'd much rather one of my cohorts sell the place than call a banker or Century 21. But you know what? They don't even know that you got that situation unless you do what? Tell them. They're not psychic. Well, maybe some of them are. On the top of page 3, it gives you the definition of the real estate business. It says the real estate brokerage of the real estate business of bringing people together by buyers and sellers or owners and renters and completing a real estate transaction. That was at the top of page 3. When you talk about the different areas of real estate, you've got residential, commercial, industrial, agricultural, and business. Now, I don't think that's too surprising. Which one would you find the majority of real estate agents?
Residential.
Why? No,
It's in the mayor.
no,
Transactions.
no.
It's the easiest.
It's the easiest. And if you had to choose one of those 5 that you were most comfortable with, most familiar with, which one would it be? Most people are gonna say what? Residential. There'll be a handful that'll say some of the others, because that's what they've done all their life.
What's the difference between 3 and 5?
Industrial and businesses?
No, businesses and commercial, sorry.
Commercial would be, this would be commercial.
It would be commercial.
Business would be, you know, the barber shop, or the pizza parlor. Right below that one you were looking at, it says sales and leasing. There's also on the next page, I'll come to that in a second, we'll talk about businesses. What's a target market? Those are
Today's target market?
any day. It's an area that you specialize in, or a type of property. It could be geographically, or it could be type of property. And what it means is I'm focusing my efforts on generating business from there. See, the more things I do to generate business, the more likely I am to do such. The easiest one is picking up the phone and calling someone. Well, not anymore, because nobody talks on the phone. How many of you text more than you talk?
But talking.
And if we go to, are you ready for this? You know what age group is the next buyers coming along, don't you? The millennials. You are gonna be too slow for them.
You better know how to text.
Piece of paper? We've had people in that age group now ask, do you do online transactions?
What is
I don't know, it's just a good word.
is it like 18,
Yeah,
30.
yeah. It's the ones that 8 of them stand along the wall and they're texting each other. You know they don't teach cursive?
Baby, no,
No,
now
they
they
do.
do. Nope, now they do. Standard court, now they do. Obama's out, now they do. Thank you, Donald Trump. Sorry.
That's not cool. That and religion are two topics you stay away from real quick.
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't care what your opinion is.
I'm just saying that it's
Because
bad.
you know what, whatever your opinion is, it's wrong to somebody else. So why am I stressing myself out? I'll just do what I think is right and the heck with the rest of you.
But they teach in 3rd grade.
Yeah? That's
Other
good.
topics, other than-
Let's go to the top of page 4. It talks about businesses. Let's put a bracket around lines 3 through 11 on page 4. Are businesses considered real estate?
Yes.
Well, they
Tangible asset.
Yes.
It's a tangible asset, the building.
Sometimes it is, sometimes it's intangible.
It could be a LLC.
It depends what kind of business.
No, it's either yes or no.
Yes.
Not depends.
No,
For those who say yes, a business is real estate, why?
Because you can sell a business.
Because mom says so. Would you like to see mom?
Come on.
Whether you'd like to see mom or not, you're going to.
The actual is.
Second one down, isn't it?
Right there. That's the home page for the Department of Business and Professional Regulation. To give you an idea of how big this department is, these are all the professions and businesses that are regulated by the Department of Business and Professional Regulation. Real estate happens to be one of them. And then under the division of real estate, I'll go into more detail about what they are later. Talks about statutes and rules. The law that governs real estate is called Chapter 475. Right there, this is the first definition in Chapter 475. That's the definition of what broker means.
Excuse me, can you go up just a little bit, please? Thank you.
And here they describe what a broker associate is. What a commission, the word commission refers to the Florida Real Estate Commission. Customer, a member of the public who is or may be a buyer or seller of real property and may or may not be represented by a licensee in an authorized brokerage relationship. And the department fiduciary is voluntary, principal, real estate. It's interesting that the real estate law would define real estate. It says there, it means any interest in or estate in land and any interest in business enterprises or business opportunities, including any assignment, leasehold, subleasehold, or mineral right. However, the term does not include any cemetery lot or right of burial in any cemetery, because it's a dead issue. Nor does the term include the renting of a mobile home lot or recreational vehicle lot in a mobile home park or travel park. So what if I was gonna buy, what if I was gonna sell one of those lots in those travel parks? Would I have to have a license? Yes, it says renting, it doesn't say selling. There is a difference between renting and selling, isn't there? Okay, just checking.
Renting.
But if you don't think there's a difference, we really have a problem. When I first got into business in the late 70s, business brokers weren't regulated. They only had to get an occupational license, which now they call a business tax. And they weren't required to have real estate, any license whatsoever. And in the late 70s, that posed a problem because they were doing things that required a real estate license. So they finally stepped in and said, okay, the state, in order to regulate an industry, the first thing the state has to do is justify that they're a danger to the public, which at that point in time, given the things I heard, that wasn't too hard. Then there's got to be justification that there's not another existing law that can be used to regulate. Because obviously creating a whole new statute and going through that and getting it approved by the Supreme Court would be timely and costly. So because of the fact that a lot of things they were doing was something that a real estate broker should do, they decided, God bless you, instead of creating a whole new law, they just changed the name of real estate, or the definition of real estate. So they literally went in with a bill and went in and added business enterprises and business opportunities. So there is no such thing as a business broker. They may call themselves a business broker, but they don't have a business broker license. They have a real estate license, and they specialize in the sale of business. It's just like if I say I'm a commercial broker. There's no such thing as a commercial broker. You know I have a broker's license, and I'm specializing in commercial property. Understand what I mean by you gotta learn how to speak the language. And the terms here have different meanings than maybe someplace else that you've done business. So it's important. And I'll keep bouncing this stuff all of you.
Does signature do all 5 of these?
Yes. We do. Okay. On page 4, starting with line 12 through the bottom of the page, it talks about target marketing. There's a couple terms that I want to highlight. Actually, on lines 19 through 23, let's put a bracket.
Page 4?
Page 4. Yeah, and line 19, what says real estate professionals have found that advertising money is more efficiently spent and produces a better outcome if efforts are focused on a target market. How many of you have been in a business that requires you to follow up? Define it for me.
Getting back to
Client.
All right, getting back to the
to a
customer.
client, customer, prospect.
Anybody else?
I have a multi-level marketing company that I have customers that I always have to follow up on.
Okay. Here's a question for you. How many of you received contact from the real estate agent that you bought your home from or sold a home by after the closing?
Nobody.
How many of them followed up with you after closing?
Zero.
Nobody.
Mine.
You mean, and you know what? That's a shame. They forget your anniversary every year.
But
You forget their anniversary every year. It's an opportunity to say thank you for business. This is the day that we closed on the property. Just thought I'd touch base. Was
They
thinking
sent a
about
card
it.
out. They sent a card out in the email
Mhm.
on my birthday, my wife's birthday, and the anniversary for sale. Yes.
Yep.
Really?
You know why?
Especially
Because they forget you that fast. We just had a gentleman in our company meeting last week. He's got an extremely interesting, would fit into this discussion of, it could be used for follow-up, it could be used for marketing. I think it's something we want to use. At the bottom of page 4, the last paragraph, 40 through 44, I'd like for you to highlight it. And put a star beside it. On page 5, it talks about property management. In my mind, the property manager is a pseudo owner. I'm there to do what? Everything the owner would do to maintain that property and keep it productive. That's the way I always viewed what a property manager should be doing. That's what I hired him for. Basically to take my place.
your liaisons.
And I expect that property manager to put the effort into it that I will put into it. You don't do it for free. Property manager, most likely, will have a real estate license. But if they deal with associations, condominiums or homeowners associations, they have to have what they call a CAM license. Community Associate Manager's License. If I'm managing properties like this, no. I may want to have a designation called CPM, Certified Property Manager. That's not a license, but that is a designation.
What was CAM stand for?
Community Association Manager.
It's known as common area maintenance.
Yeah, it
That's
means that too.
commercial.
What's used to describe that way is with the associations. When you get into the office buildings and stuff, then you common area maintenance. On line 6, I'd like you to highlight that sentence that says the property manager is the property owner's local representative. That's what we just said. Go down to line 10 and highlight the definition of rental agent. It'll take a while to guess that somebody's a rental agent is renting properties and getting paid for it. Just a quick guess. If you want to see the information on the CAM license, go to page 6, top of the page. The way I remember that it doesn't deal with anything other than associations is because its middle name is association. Makes it pretty easy. Couple things that I didn't mention before, and I just crossed my mind, so before I forget again. As far as food and drink, you bring whatever you want to as long as it's legal. You want to bring dinner because you're late, I don't have a problem with that. However, the kitchen is not available for you. Because we have 25 people that work in the center, and that fridge is where everybody puts their food and everything. And unfortunately, predecessors to your position have decided to snoop through the food in the fridge. Now, yeah, true story. So, you know, that old adage, one person's fault belongs to for everybody. But if you've got a water thing there and you'd like me to fill it up, I can't unless you like tap water. Because we're having a problem with the refrigerator, so the filter and stuff's not working. So bring yourself something to drink. And if you have a tendency to be a little on the cold side, bring a sweater or something, a parka, I don't care. Because once I get up and crank here, you know, the temperature's about 150 up there. All right, appraising. Let's start on page 6 with line 8. Let's put a bracket. From line 8 to the bottom of the page. And include it in the top of the next page where you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just before it gets to where it says competitive market analysis. Can a real estate licensee do appraisals? Can a real estate licensee do appraisals?
No.
The answer is yes. They cannot do certified appraisals because you have to be licensed to do a certified appraisal. They cannot be involved in appraisals that deal with federally related transactions. In other words, anything regulated by the government, they can't do that. So that means for the most part, you're not going to find too many real estate associates or brokers doing appraisals.
Is it illegal to become licensed?
No.
No.
However, you couldn't do both in the same transaction.
No.
Because it would obviously be a conflict of interest. If you had the buyer and you were doing the appraisal, I don't know that that would fly.
Plus the appraisal has to be done prior.
Right. Then why in the world do I have to learn about appraising? Because I have to be able to communicate with appraisers. Why do I have to learn about financing? Because I have to be able to talk to financing people and understand their language. Why do I need to know about estates and how property's owned? Because every time you take a damn listing to sell a house, you got to figure out who owns it. So when we get to chapters 8 and 9, and we start talking about estates, I have some interesting stuff for you. One of my favorite topics, that and legal description. So if I'm asked, can a real estate licensee conduct an appraisal? My answer is yes.
Yes.
Can they do a certified appraisal?
No.
No. If it's a federally related transaction? No.
No.
However, if they do what they want to call an appraisal, they have to follow the guidelines that the appraisers follow. It's that USPAP, which stands for Uniform Standards of Professional Appraisal Practices. In other words, if you've ever seen an appraisal, the forms that that appraiser used, a real estate licensee would have to use if they were gonna do an appraisal. Now, the likelihood of you doing an appraisal is pretty close to zero. However, the next one, which is called the competitive market analysis, is gonna be something you do a lot. Every time I work with a seller, I gotta price the property. So I need to do a market analysis. If I'm gonna take a buyer out, should I do a market analysis?
Of course.
Would you want the agent to tell you what property is selling for in that community?
Yes.
How long they've been on the market, what amenities they have?
Yeah.
Even if it's not what you said you're looking for,
Yes.
because I want them to know that community and be comfortable with that community. A market analysis typically has 2 to 3 components. Obviously, the active listings would be a part of your market analysis. Why? Because they're the seller's competition. Or at least some of them would be. The solds. Why do I need that?
Sets the market.
Because that's reality. Listing price is what? What you'd like to get. Sold is the reality of what the market. See, it's very important. That first word, second word is market, not agent. I have to learn as an agent to speak in third person when I do a market analysis. Because that seller needs to understand what? This is not me talking, I'm just the messenger.
Right.
And you know what to do with the messenger. I have in the back of my head, as I'm looking at a seller, there's 4 things running through my head. Is this property gonna be priced accordingly? Is the seller motivated? Does the home show well? And will they give me a listing that's long enough to be able to get the property sold based upon days on the market? If I can't answer yes to all those 3s, it's time to leave. But hell, it's a listing. No, it's a business decision. In any good business, if the characteristics that make a good investment or a good business decision aren't there, what do? You walk away and go do something else. But if I don't take it, somebody else will. Let them. And when it expires, you can go back and get the listing.
When do you find out if they're qualified?
Well, we're talking about sellers right now, but when do we figure out when a buyer's pre-qualified? Before I put him in my car.
Is that why houses are typically reduced in price in about 6 weeks? 'Cause real-
Not necessarily. It depends on those 4 things to start with.
When it's overpriced, I mean.
And then it is those 4 things, isn't it? It's that simple. If it doesn't meet those 4 characteristics, there's a problem. At some point, we're gonna have to figure out how to solve it, if we wanna sell it. And 9 times out of 10, that's gonna be what? Lowering the price. Or, and this is something I've seen grow in the recent years, I may wanna pull it off the market and rehab it. I might wind up getting more money by pulling it off the market, bringing it to market standards. Because our marketplace is now 30 to 40 years old. And what's happening with those properties? You got 2 options. You take one where somebody's already gone in and modernized it and brought it up to speed. Or, at which means you have to pay a little bit more money. Or you can buy something that you can get a good price on, but you got to put some bucks in. That is new in the last 5 years. You didn't see that. It happened, but not to the degree it's occurring now.
They used to be more than others. Demo.
And it's interesting. foreclosures, short sales that everybody wants to get into, we have a specialist here in those two. She's now moving into other areas because the market's just not there anymore. Because you don't have 8 zillion properties coming out for sale, that are foreclosures. And the banks aren't giving it away anymore to get rid of it. They've been able to give enough away that they don't have to give it away anymore. And so they expect to get near market value, if not market value. So it's a lot of hassle. It's not good. And I'm sure the banks will be willing to fix anything that's wrong with the house. Yeah, if it snows tomorrow.
Is everything still verified? Yeah.
Yeah, you still have to do the verification. Now, starting with line 6 through line 20, let's put a bracket under that comparative market analysis. And then on line 13, about halfway across the line, I want you to highlight the star where it says a CMA is a marketing tool and may not be referred to or represented as an appraiser. Page 7, on lines 13 and 14. And as I don't know if I said, it does have a star. Page 7, lines 13 and 14. And then on lines 21 through the end of the page, let's put a bracket around that, and highlight where it says on line 21, broker's price opinion.
Where was that?
Page
We're on
7.
page 7, line 21, to the bottom of the page, I want a bracket. And then on line 21, highlight what it says broker's price opinion. A lot of lenders who are looking to put the property up for sale will use real estate agents to do what they call a broker price opinion. Now, they have a format and a form that they have to follow and certain information that has to be provided to them. And they typically pay like $50 for a BPO.
Why wouldn't it take like appraiser?
Because they don't have to pay what an appraiser would charge. And all they're trying to do is get a feeling for the market so that they know that the number they're putting on it is reasonable to the marketplace.
Talk about the new developer?
No, I'm talking about lenders and investors who are holding mortgages that are foreclosed. So they're looking to put it on the market. You see, because a lot of times in the foreclosure, the bank winds up with the property. Because it may have went out for auction, but it didn't go up for enough. And so the bank pulls it back, they'll put it up for sale. But they need some guideline as to what price should be put on it, and that's what the BPOs want.
So that's what.
So that's where you're gonna see that. Which means I'd have to have some sort of relationship with some of the financial institutions in order to do that. A lot of ways to use the license once you get it. All right, next page, page 8. On page 8, it talks about financing. Now, I'm not going to get into anything on financing right now because we have 2 chapters when we get farther down there. Best thing I can tell you about financing, make sure you have 2 or 3 good mortgage brokers. And make sure before you put people in your car within reason, they can afford to what you're looking at.
Amen.
Or you can be an Uber driver and not get paid.
So what, you would ask them to be pre-qualified?
That's why I asked.
I'm sorry?
You would ask them to be pre-qualified?
I wouldn't ask them. I'd politely tell them.
We'll find out, yeah.
Because if you can't show me you can buy it, explain to me why I'm putting you in my car.
Waste of time.
I'm not wasting my time. I'm a business person. My time is valuable. I'll bust my butt for you if you're real. Besides the fact, when I go to make an offer on a house, if I don't have proof in my hand that you can afford to buy this property, that seller's gonna kick you to the curb.
Yep.
And if that listing agent is doing their job, I won't get past them. That doesn't mean I won't try to negotiate the best deal I can. But I gotta justify to that listing agent and that seller that my buyer has the ability. I don't have to tell them how much money they have, it's none of their damn business. But I do have to be able to give them something in black and white that makes them feel comfortable that this person can pull the trigger when it's necessary.
Good thing.
And how do you get that?
Yep.
That's why I said you need 3 or 4 good mortgage brokers. And you have them contact that. See, I want the buyer to agree to let me give a number to the mortgage person. Not say, here's the mortgage person's number, give them a call.
Even personal bankers.
Because you know what's gonna happen there. Buyer may not call.
I have a question.
Yes.
Everything that we're highlighting, do we go home and review this information?
You go home and review the whole book. You just make sure, if you wanna pass the class test, that you've got the stars down. So the star, once the class test is over, the stars disappear. You might not see any of that information on the state exam. So I don't need you to come back and tell me, well, the questions that were on the class test were on the state exam. No shit. Like I've got people, I don't think they actually believe that they're gonna be given the same test again. My favorite is this. Person fails, gets a 72. By the way, the average failing score is 70 and higher.
The average failing scores.
Mhm.
And you have to make
So
a
it's between
72.
70 and
5.
75.
You have to make a 75.
So they're close.
They're the ones that didn't quite participate, and didn't quite listen. Okay, now I don't remember what I wanted to tell you.
72 score.
Is the pre-qualification still as hard as it was a couple of years ago?
No, actually, it's easier, at least from what I'm hearing. And also, and I think the average person financially is getting in a better position than they were 3, 4, or 5 years ago.
I know the rate went
All right, I'll come back to that as soon as I remember what it was. Obviously, it wasn't too important. Another area, at the bottom of page 8, is development and construction. If I want to build houses, what's the first thing I gotta do? I gotta buy the land.
Oh, you got it.
GL Homes didn't start building houses and then asked the farmers if they wanted to sell their property. Actually, construction is the last step in the process. Well, actually, no. There's one step after that. What's that? Selling stuff.
Yeah.
10 years ago.
And of course, you got some now where they're selling them before they build them.
What about liens?
What?
There's no liens on just property,
Yeah,
right?
Sure there are.
There are,
If the developer borrowed money to buy the land, there's a lien.
on the land.
Yeah. There's gonna be property tax lien on the property. And who knows what other liens are on that property? How long have some of them farmers owned that property? For a very long time. They paid 50 cents an acre for it too.
Remember Olympia? They slept overnight for 2 nights there.
Mm-hmm. If you're talking about residential property, on page 9, number 3, it says recording the subdivision plat map.
Yeah.
You've seen plat maps before if you went into a new development. Because what you're looking at when they show you where everything's gonna be in the community is a watered down plat. My favorite one, and this goes way back until the late 60s, 70s, Wellington. When they first started building Wellington, they had a sales pavilion, huge, huge. And in the middle of it, they had a big table and like 4 feet where you could walk around it. And it showed you each project that was gonna be done. And there was just a few of them that they hadn't zoned yet. But it was fascinating to look at it then and to see it now and realize that what's there now started in the late 70s, early 80s.
Blows my mind.
It's like what Geo Homes is doing out there on Lyons Road with 7 bridges and all that. You know, how long do you think it's been going on?
30 years.
Yep.
Probably bought the land 30 years.
And you notice the farmers are still farming.
Ow.
That's another little thing we want to talk about.
It's on there.
You ever, any of you live in Delray? Hagen Ranch and Atlantic?
Yeah.
Just past there, as you're going west, if you look to the right, there's a field, there's a bunch of cows in that field.
Yeah.
I'll explain to you why there's cows in there. But see, the shit you learn in this class has nothing to do with real life. That's one of my pet peeves. Big time. All right, let's go to line 17. And I want to put a term down on
Page 8 or 9.
page 9. On line 17, the word dedication. Yeah, pride, that's good, I wasn't gonna use that word. Now, it doesn't say donation.
How did you read?
No, it's a text message.
That's what they say.
Which is it?
Why the owner would give it to the government with no pay?
You want your project approved? We have a little problem. We need a school in this area.
School?
Yeah.
Yeah, we need a school, but we need the land to build it.
From the owner.
No.
But they-
No,
I own the
No.
land. I own the land, right?
Yeah.
The owner now give it to the city or for schooling
yeah,
for free.
yeah, no,
That's what I'm asking.
yeah, no, yes, for free, it's dedication.
Is the instructor?
Part of what you pay to be able to do your construction.
Is it voluntarily or enforcement?
Do you want the land or not?
The what?
Do you want the land or not?
If you wanna build 5,000 houses, you gotta build a school.
They're twisting your arm.
No, I didn't understand, but it's like a donation, right?
No, it's a dedication, it's not tax deductible.
You
It's an
can't,
offer you can't
it
refuse.
has to go around it in a
You
certain
get paid
way.
for it. Basically, you get something.
Right.
It's not that you give it for free.
Cannot, yeah.
contingency.
There's a gift, the gift is like you give a gift for free.
You cannot receive any value.
I mean, the only thing is that you want to build,
Gift, it says gift.
you need to.
That's what I'm asking, the way they.
Correct or not? Yes or no?
As soon as you guys finish explaining that, the developer needs approval to build his 2,000 homes. However, they need land for schools, for a school to be built because of this community and the ones around it. So what happens is, they wind up dedicating a certain portion of land to the city or county, depending on where it is, to be used to build a school. And the builder gave it to them. In exchange, because here's the problem.
Did it?
Developer, in the past, didn't take care of the infrastructure of areas they were building in. So then when they built, there wasn't enough this, there wasn't enough that. And they finally got smarter and realized what? If 3,000 new homes are coming in, I gotta think about the infrastructure of that community. Well, one thing is we need a school, and the best place for this school to be is here. In steps the builder. I wanna build my 3,000 homes. They need this land. And they pulled the trigger to approve me.
Only thing, the word gift is confusing. The word gift is confusing, that's the only thing. The word gift.
Basically, you give them part of that, they can build a school, and they approve the budget, 2,000 buildings.
Yeah.
Put the word
Ah.
gift. They didn't give the gift.
Just
They
like
put the word gift is
Clint
confusing.
Now, everybody listen real carefully. Do they refer to dedication as a gift?
No.
Yes.
It's a gift.
It says this is a gift. You know why they say gift? Because that tells you he ain't gonna get paid for it.
Right.
If I'm giving it to you as a birthday gift, am I gonna make you pay for it?
No.
Okay, same difference. That's what a dedication is. You want to build your 3,000 houses and make millions of dollars, then we need this 40 acres to be able to build a school on. But we're not paying for it. You're gonna dedicate it to us. You know what? It's a pretty good exchange. Just think how much money that builder's gonna make on those 3,000 homes. And he's got a selling point. There's a school right down the street.
I would call it a sacrifice, not a gift, but it's
And
okay.
great.
Sacrifice a piece of land in order to make more money. They call it a gift, it's like,
Well, see, you don't understand the reason for the dedications happening is because of the lack of infrastructure. Do you know that when I first came down here and first got into business, how many times they had building moratoriums? Because the schools and the water and the sewer couldn't keep up with the builders. So they had to shut the builders down until they could get all that in place. Well, they finally got smart and said, look, we're not gonna wait to find out we don't have enough. We're gonna make sure we have enough. Which, obviously, from a business standpoint, if I'm running the city or county, makes a hell of a lot more sense. Besides the fact, who does that school benefit? The homeowner. Does it benefit the developer?
Yes.
Yeah.
Why?
because you get a
Because he's got a selling feature to his community. Now, maybe a water treatment plant wouldn't necessarily be high on the list, but yes, exactly. All right, bottom of the page, residential construction. Let's put a bracket starting with line 28 through 3 on the next page. you've got speculative housing, you've got custom, and you've got tract. Now, very important to be careful here. Speculative houses is different than speculative building. If you look at your notes, it's actually at the top of page 10. You'll see there, it says tract homes. We just talked about it. It's called Geo Homes. Because tract or speculative building is where they got 4 or 5 models, 10 models, and they get 8,000 unit floor lots. And you pick a lot, you pick a house, and they build and sell it to you. That's the third one. The first one is the small guy who buys 1 or 2 or 3 properties, rehabs them, turns around and sells them, or buys 4 or 5 lots, builds a house, hopefully can sell his houses before he starts building them. So notice that speculative housing is 1 or 2 or 3. Speculative building and tract building are the same thing.
Tract and tract is the same?
Yeah, if you look at your notes where it talks about tract building.
And you said it was page
Tract is the same.
Yeah, it's on page 10.
Okay.
It's line 1. It says tract houses. Tract houses are a type of speculative building.
Building.
So there's a difference between speculative building and speculative housing.
Right.
So if number 1 is speculative housing, yes.
Frank McKinney does the spec homes, where he doesn't know, he builds the home, but he doesn't know if it's gonna be bought in 3 days or 3 years.
Right.
And so it's risky, but it's worth it.
Okay. If he builds a good house, it's worth it. And if he's building it to the market, which he is,
You don't know
obviously.
when it's gonna be done.
Yeah. The next note talks about the role of the government. I'm not gonna get into this now because this is about half the book. Because in every area, the government's got something to do with, we just got through talking about it in construction. Talking about, we spent 10 minutes arguing over dedication. When you get your license, can you refer to yourself as a realtor?
So, yes.
When you get your license,
You know what happens when you assume?
you have to be board certified. You have to take the parents and board.
The answer is no. Not until you join the Realtor Association.
Right.
Because that's a copyrighted trademark.
Right.
So that's like, you pass the test. You want to come in, you want to order your business cards. You got a problem. You're not going to go down and join the Realtor Association, the MLS. Can't put the word Realtor or the symbol R on your business cards or market or anything, if you remember. And if you're going to be in real estate, especially residential, if you're not a member, you make a big mistake.
How much it cost?
First year, probably 700 to 800 for a year.
700-800 a year?
Yeah.
Including the lag box, the Supra? Or
No.
No, that's separate.
Yeah. Don't forget that you're starting a business,
That's right, it's an investment.
and I know Ben is very generous, too generous sometimes, I think. But you know what? I'm not worried about that right now. I'm more worried about you getting a license right now
Yeah.
than what you're gonna have to pay.
Do you
Yes.
mind repeating, after you take the license, after you take the realtor state test?
No, that's not the Realtor state test.
Okay,
It's
So like-
it's the state exam.
state exam, you're not a realtor yet?
No,
Okay,
you're not a Realtor. There's no I.
realtor.
No, not Realtor.
Real tour.
You're a license holder, but you're not a realtor.
Realtor.
Because to use the term Realtor, you have to be a member
Of that?
Of the Realtor Association.
Association.
Well, joining us doesn't make you a member.
And
It
that's-
activates your license. And then you need to go down to the Realtor Association and apply. Actually, you can do it online.
And to get your MLS number, that's what costs the 700, whatever fee.
Now, there's a whole lot more to what the,
Okay.
and we just had a major merger, or at least it appears that way. The Fort Lauderdale Realtor Association is joining forces with the Palm Beach.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
So
what-
that only amounts to 30-some thousand. It only makes us the third largest realtor association in the country. Yeah. And they're gonna have 5 different satellite offices for members to be able to go in when they need something or go to a class or whatever the case may be. So honestly, it's worth every penny that you pay to be a member. But it's like anything else. Are you availing yourself to the things that they offer? It's the same difference here. We offer tons of training. And everybody got an excuse.
Is it a real powerful database? A lot of.
Yeah, I'd say so.
About everything.
Yeah, yeah, we only did 5,000 transactions last year. We've only done 2,500 up to this point this year.
Do custom searches and sorts.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff.
You cannot practice real estate. You cannot practice real estate.
Okay, I think maybe we probably should take a break. Come back and look at chapter 2.
How long a break?
Like we're done.
Oh,